We are in for an amazing 2026 in golf. Seriously, what a weekend in the sport we love. Anthony Kim climbs the mountain, slays the dragon. Colin Morikawa gets back to the winner's circle. And Charlie Hall, with the help of mashed potatoes, wins the LPGA event in Saudi Arabia, nonetheless. So before we jump into everything, let's truly stop to appreciate the masterpiece of theater that Liv Adelaide really was. I mean, what more can you say about Anthony Kim's comeback? If you were engaged in the golf, if you weren't, then you don't really love golf. But if you were engaged in the golf, like many people, you were on social media just trying to get more, trying to get back to that feeling of watching this guy walk down 18. Now, every year I'm invested in Live Adelaide because it's Liv's biggest event. There's something different in that tournament, right? You can't compare it to the Masters or anything like that. But for Liv, it's their biggest event. And it's not just because, yes, it broke records for attendance, over 115,000 people for Australia, one of the biggest sporting events they have. But it's the vibe of the people, from the little kids to the young fans, to the costumes, to the music, to the level of play, to the nerves on players, and more importantly, to the true test of golf the Adelaide greens are at the range. Is it the range? What's the club called? I think it's the range, the Grange. Either way, they're not going to be there ever again, which we're going to talk about separately. It was so dumb for Liv, and I know it might not be their choice. They're going to go to a new course next year, and they have to, that actually will not allow for crowds to be of the same size by like 10,000 people less a day. So who knows what that's going to do for the vibe. But right now, we're in the present moment, and we're lifting up Anthony Kim. Those greens were running at a 12-8 on Sunday. Sunday in Australia, Saturday in Connecticut. And that's pretty much on par with like the Masters green speeds, right? I think they run just over 13 at the Masters, and the 12-8 for Liv Adelaide was pretty freaking crazy. And that's why you saw John Rahm unable to hang on to the lead, because John Rahm played great golf all week. The scoring average on Sunday was just under 70. So Rahm was just about on the scoring average, because the difference in the guys that played well, like Cam Smith and Lucas Herbert from Ripper GC, the Australian guys, and they're used to putting on these sandbelt style courses. You had to be able to slay your putts, because no one was safe holding the lead, which we saw by Bryson falling off and Rahm not draining putts. Poor Rahm was burning edges all the time. And the way the course is set up at Adelaide is it's very hard to flag hunt there for a couple reasons. Your approach shot is never coming out of a rough, right? They have like a tight bent style, like real hard pan, right? That's just the style of golf in Australia at the Sandbelt. So you can't get the spin you need. And then a lot of cases, if you're looking at a wedge shot in, you can have no bounce on the club. You have to make perfect contact. So hunting flags on Sunday at Adelaide was like impossible. Of course, there's going to be the anomalies and a couple good shots here and there, but you were really putting it on the center of green, and you needed to hit 25, 30-foot putts to score, to try to fight and try to win this. And Rahm did just that. It's hard to hit a fairway off the tee at Adelaide. The holes are so thin and they're narrow. And John Rahm's the guy that bombs it, kind of like Tiger Woods was, where he just bombed the ball, barely hit a fairway, but it was the recovery shot that made him so amazing, where he'd stick it next to a pin. So Rahm wasn't hitting these fairways, and he was getting on the green. He just wasn't hitting the long putts on Sunday, but Anthony Kim was. And Anthony Kim was on the fairway. He led the way in greens and regulation, right? Because he did not hit driver off any tee box, like not any tee box, most of the tee box, right? So if you think about the way he used to play when he was younger, he was the guy like, oh, you don't hit a driver on this hole. And he'd take out a driver with hubris and cockiness and smash it. So now he was whipping out 4, 5, 6 irons off the tee on these 430-yard par fours. He'd be in the middle of the fairway and then hit another long to mid iron into the green, to the center of the green. And then the only person that hit more putts, I think, than him on Sunday was Cam Smith, who played amazing, by the way. And then Anthony Kim was draining these putts, and he had a round of a lifetime. He shot 9 under 63 in tournament conditions Sunday with a huge crowd, with the pressure of being in the final group with Bryson DeChambeau and John Rahm, arguably two of the best players in the world. Not if you look at the OWGR, but these are guys that know how to win majors. They know how to win the Ryder Cup. They know how to win under pressure. And Anthony Kim started the day 5 back. So what he truly needed had to come from his higher power, from his sobriety belief. He really needed a little help from the Lord above, and he needed to drain putts. And that's just what he did on the back 9. Watching, he hit like 4 birdies in a row, all long putts. Maybe there was a couple 10 to 15 footers there, but he was draining like 25, 30-foot putts. He was fist pumping like the old Tiger Woods style before they even went in the hole, because he knew he was in a flow state. He knew that he was on to something special. He could feel it. And you know what? So could you. So could I. So could the 115,000 people over the weekend at Adelaide, is that he was on his way to glory and greatness because he believed in himself, and his golf was superb. His putting, his approach shots were superb. Now, there's a big debate. Was this the end of a story of one of the greatest sports comebacks of all time? Yes, it is. There has never been an athlete that has been away from the game over 12 years. And not only was he away from the game, it was the dark place he was. Suicidal, incredible mental health struggles, just self-loathing and self-hate, drugs and alcohol, just and fighting with people in his lives. He didn't touch a club. Like, he barely ever touched a club. He didn't even own clubs. He got rid of his clubs, early on to that hiatus. So where did Anthony Kim go? Well, there's great interviews out there where he talks about it. And it sounds like he's working on his story, but his story didn't really have a final chapter until this weekend at Adelaide, where he really had the greatest comeback in the history of all sports and golf. Now, remember that feeling we got watching Tiger Woods walk down the 18th at Augusta on Sunday in 2019? After all Tiger had been through, all the injuries, all the drug use, all the womanizing, all the fall from grace, how hard it was to compete, right? When you do steroids and smash your body like that and are doing Ambien and Xanax at night and sleeping with hundreds of women, it's going to take a toll on your body. And it did with Tiger, but that's why we lifted him up, put a crown on his head as he won the Masters as one of the greatest comebacks in sports in 2019. Could it ever be topped? It was topped. And I'm not saying Adelaide is the Masters. That's not the question or the answer. What is important is that he was away from a sport longer than anyone has been and won at the highest level. And so for all the Liv haters out there, how do we know? Oh, it's just Liv. He didn't deserve to win. Okay, they got OWGR points, so it can't just be a weekend member guest, right? So put that argument away. Also, when he won, look at the amount of people and who they are that congratulated him. All that is doing is game recognizes game. All that is doing is put an exclamation point on the sentence that Liv Golf is serious golf. If it wasn't, the PGA wouldn't be commenting on it. Justin Thomas and Billy Horschel wouldn't be commenting on it. Annika Sorensen, all these writers, all these greats of the game, they would not be making comments on Anthony Kim's success if Liv was nothing. So one of the reasons we do this podcast is everybody just talks so negative about Liv. And I get it. Negative algorithms push content on social media, on YouTube, wherever it is. And no one talks fairly about Liv for what it is. And mostly because they don't really know what it is. They're just in a cycle of confirmation bias. They might listen to corporate golf media like the Golf Channel, then they get on their podcast and then they repeat this, or they have such a great golf podcast that there's so many listeners that they're at PGA events and have access to players, so they're not going to diss the PGA. They're going to put down Liv because that's the talking point. I love all golf. I say it every week. But you know what I also love? Anthony Kim. Since we launched in early December, end of November, we have been on an Anthony Kim watch every week. Because if you followed his game the last few months, you could see not this, that he was going to take down two of the titans of the sport, but you could see he had fair play. He was playing well. Okay. The Saudi International, he finished top 5. He had a 36-hole clubhouse lead because he was playing conservative, consistent golf, not the stuff we remember the guy with the belt buckle from, but he was playing well. And back then, people who follow the sport on a global level were like, wow, Anthony Kim, he's got a chance here. People were talking about him. And then he practiced. If you follow him on social media, he's on Instagram every day. He's got his mantra, 1% better, in vein of like Kobe Bryant. And he sits there with his little girl on the green and he putts. It seems like all day and all night, like a writer, an author writing poetry for hours a day. That's what Anthony Kim is doing. He is putting and practicing putting. So the club is a connection to him. He played well in Saudi. Then he got relegated from Liv, right? You remember last year, he had a 2-year deal with Liv. He didn't play good enough. His first season, he was almost DFL in every tournament, if not pretty close to it. Second season wasn't any better, but there was a couple finishes. I think he was 24th maybe once, but he got relegated, right? People are like, oh, your Liv is not fair. You can't get relegated or knocked off. Anthony Kim did. He had to find a place to play golf last fall. So he played some Asian Tour events, and that would have to be his future. But then because of his contract with Liv and his finishes on the Asian Tour and the Saudi International, he was able to play in the Liv Q School event in Florida. I think it was like in the end of January, right? Top 3 players from that field were going to get cards for Liv just for this season. And in dramatic fashion, you had to be in the top 20 on Friday to make the weekend. On the last hole, I think a 15 or 20-foot putt, maybe it was a little less. It seemed like 1,000,000 feet if you were rooting for him. He drained the putt to make it. Same thing on Saturday to play the last round. And then all he had to do in the final round was par 17 and 18. And he would have finished top 3, get his Liv card, no drama, except for he bogeyed the 17th hole. And 18 is no slouch. I forget the name of that course, but I remember it was a long uphill. I think you're coming in with like a 4, 5, or 6 iron, long iron in on a tough green. Okay, so he takes his approach shot, puts it, I don't remember, but it was a long putt, 10, 12 feet. And who cares? Because these pros, they miss 50% of the 8-foot putts anyways. That's a real statistic. So he's on a green. He's got a longer putt. He's got to drain it. And he knows walking up there, if he doesn't drain this putt, that's it. He's got to go grind it out the Asian Tour. And the story of Anthony Kim would, wither away back into the deep caverns of YouTube footage from 2008. And he drains the putt, of course. And you could just see the first sign of like a little fist clench. You could see the emotion rush through him, not in the dramatic fashion we got to witness on Sunday in Adelaide, but he qualified for Liv. You could tell it meant everything to him. In the first Liv tournament in Riyadh, once again, he was one of the first round leaders. I watched him play. I'm like, it's just a matter of time before he's at the top because he's hitting so well. And it's really just discipline. He's just taking irons off par 4s and then putting irons on the green and draining putts. So he finished T22 in Riyadh, which was pretty good. And then Patrick Reed quits, tries to jump on the Brooks Koepka bandwagon. And Patrick Reed last minute kind of screwed over Dustin Johnson in the 4 aces. They had like less than a week to get somebody to Saudi Arabia to fill their team. They couldn't. They had to have Miguel Tabuena be a fill-in, which he also got to play Liv full time too because of AK. So good on him. So AK gets the call from Dustin Johnson, you're going to be on the 4 aces, which is amazing. Why Dustin Johnson? Because I followed him the last few months. I've seen where he's trending. I believe in him. And you know what? AK proved to himself, to the world, to his little girl, to the golf pundits, to the haters, to the lovers, to the praisers, to the losers, that he can win And he did. And if you just watch the adrenaline flow through his body, you were standing on your feet. I was clapping in my living room at 1 o'clock in the morning in my pajamas. You could truly feel his emotion through the TV. And that's something like that's Tiger-esque, not in like his history is like Tiger's, in the sense that Tiger brought that raw, real, uh, agony of defeat, but praise of glory in making a putt, walking towards victory, and those fists, like those clenches. I'm feeling it right now. It made you feel like we were watching greatness. It made you feel like you used to feel watching golf in the early 2000s, where it's real and it's palpable. You want to hold it and squeeze it. Golf doesn't have that today. Scottie Scheffler is an amazing golfer. We talk about it every week. We had a segment a couple of weeks ago how it's no fun to watch him run away from players in there with exemptions or Corn Ferry guys that just got their card this year, the PGA, and Scott walks away with like a 10-stroke win or whatever it is. No, but he doesn't bring that emotion that we all yearn for as fans of sports, and Anthony Kim brought it. It's why if you were following on social media and watching it, where do I watch this? I'm reading people's comments. I love reading people's comments, mostly when I go to the bathroom, just because I'm like, how are people exist in the world this stupid? But it was so fun to watch it blaze like a wildfire. I want to watch it. I want to watch it. Everybody was jumping in, like wanting to watch AK do something great. And he did, and the golf world needed it. If you're listening to a YouTube podcast right now, you are obsessed with golf, just like I am. We now have a hero in the sport that we will root for. It doesn't matter if you play for the Dallas Cowboys or the New York Giants. I'm a Cowboys fan. You are going to root for Anthony Kim unless you're just an asshole. Like we'll table that. AK transcended sports once again, just like Tiger Woods used to do. No, I'm not comparing AK to Tiger Woods. I'm saying the way he transcends the game, the things I talk about every week, like what can we do on either side to get somebody to grow the game by increasing more fans, by increasing the excitement. You're not going to get that excitement if Bryson DeChambeau wins. He was expected to win. AK wasn't, okay? It brought everything to the game. I am so excited for 2026. I wish that he had a little more runway room to get some more top finishes on Liv. Why? Because the top 50 in the world, according to the OWGR, get into the majors. And of course, we'd want to see Anthony Kim at Augusta. I know it's recency bias, but I've seen his trend. And the fact he could shoot a 63 on a 12-8 stimp green on a Sunday with Rahm and Bryson, okay, he can play. We want to see him there. Let's go. Let AK play. Let AK play for real. So I hope he wins in Hong Kong in a few weeks. Because he was like number 800 or something crazy in the world, AK, and that's probably being kind. He's now number 203 because Liv gets OWGR points, right? So Liv's got nobody in the top 50, which is bullshit. But Liv has Hatton. Terrell Hatton is ranked number 23. John Rahm is 50 on the number. And then they got guys in there like the McKibbins, the Caleb Surratts, a bunch there. But then AK moves up 600 spots to 203. So if he can get one more win, he's going to jump up there. If he can get one more top 5, he's not quite going to break it. But we gotta just hope that he does so we can watch more of it. So it's a huge win for Liv in the sense that the only news for Liv last week was this. Liv only had 17,000 people watch React. Boo-hoo. It's dead, and you're bad because you like it. Oh, cry me a river. Understand, if you have just a little portion of your brain that works, that Liv is not a NBC or CBS Sunday at Grandpa's house TV ratings monster. It is seen around the world. I looked up Adelaide's numbers last year of their viewership. 882,000 people watched it, which you're like, oh, that's nothing. It's everything in a country that's only not even the quarter the size of the United States. That is a huge number. I looked up how many watched in Korea, I looked up 3 events. It was about 174,000. And this is last year. So the argument with Liv, it doesn't need to be an argument. No, they're not getting millions of viewers in the US. It would be funny to see. Actually, this will just prove the point because everyone's talking about how they watch this, but you will still see a ratings of like 120,000. And you'll just know that the Nielsen family ratings of Fox Sports apps just isn't accurate. I think it's fair to say every live tournament that gets played around the world probably gets 2 to 3 million people watching just because they have 41 apps or TV channels in different variations in over 100 countries. We're not the only people that consume golf. Half the golfers in the world are in the US, but that leaves another 50, 60 million people and growing outside. And if you saw the amount of kids, like little girls dressed in like golf outfits and little kids and boys and girls, all of them were following around Cam Smith and the Rippers. They got to experience what happened at Adelaide this weekend. They will never forget that. And some of them are going to turn into amazing golfers, all because they felt the thunder, the vibe, the electricity at Live Adelaide, and it probably changed lives of these little kids. That's what it's supposed to do. The Live train machine that rolls around the world is supposed to come into places that are starved for professional golf and drop gasoline in a fire to get people excited. All their tournaments aren't like Adelaide. We're going to be, let's see, Liv is going to be in Hong Kong in like 3 weeks. It will not have that same electricity, but it will have interest now because people are going to see what happens next with AK. 1, 2, just like it has done in the past few years, kids are going to come out, younger people are going to come out, and now they're going to be fans of golf because the way Liv creates an electricity, and it's not just because they have a DJ pumping techno music. That's not even true at all. There's music that can reach faintly to the far reaches of like a 13th hole way far away from a clubhouse, or cranks on 18 and number 1. I've been to like 3 Liv events. It is awesome. The vibe is different. I don't choose it over the PGA. I choose it with the PGA. I also go to the Travelers every year because I'm in Connecticut. So the way they're bringing this machine of entertainment and excitement around the world is working. And that's why when people are like, nobody watches Live, ooh, it's dead. Nobody cares. That's why more sponsors are coming on. HSBC, Salesforce, Rolex with a very expensive sponsorship, right? Not a headline sponsor, they're now sponsoring the place where all the wealthy people that sponsor Live hang out at events. But I'm just saying, it's how they keep attracting things. South Africa was there. They're going to have a Live event this year. They want to model it off of what happened in Adelaide because South Africa and Australia are rivals in cricket and rugby, and now they want to try to, one up each other for Live Golf. So I can't wait to see what happens in South Africa. You can't script what happened in Adelaide. It's got to happen naturally. But if at least you're trying to, it's a good head start. If you build it, they will come. So I'm excited to see what happens there. Now, the dates that go through Asia probably aren't going to impact the same way because it's just the culture doesn't celebrate in the same way. But the people that Live were young. They were every gender. There was kids, a lot of people around 30. There was older people having fun. They had great concerts at the end. Anthony Kim's on stage holding his little girl, raising his hands. It's like 50,000 people are screaming. It was special. And when he drained that putt on 18, and that little girl came running across the green and jumped into his arms, you're not human if you don't think that is everything. And that is just the small snowball that's about to roll forward of Anthony Kim and pick up steam because he is on the entertainment train of Live and it's left the station. It's not going to get 2 million viewers in the US on a Sunday to outdo the PGA. That's not the concept. It's content. You can watch the entire tournament in 4.5 hours. People got to see how easy it was this weekend by just clicking an app or going onto YouTube and watching the 45-minute highlight reel. So I'm excited. This energy, I was saying to a friend of mine, I'm like, I can live off this win. It was like when the Dallas Cowboys won the Super Bowl. But for me, I know it's been a long, long time, but it was that exciting to me in sports. And now there are people like, oh, you're such a loser, get a hobby. Dude, if you care about human stories, if you care about sports at all, and if you are a golf junkie, it was the greatest thing that happened to the game since Tiger Woods. And I mean, just Tiger Woods and awe changing the game. I think Anthony Kim is bringing hope and inspiration to so many people. Liv Adelaide, home run. I said it a few weeks ago. This is like one of the top 5 tournaments in the world because it is. Not just because the crowd, like size, it's just the vibe it creates, the challenge of the course, the tightness of the course that brings the fans really in to the game and the accessibility of the players. So it was special. Now, it couldn't get any better than that, could it? Sure can. Ripper GC, the Aussie boys win in dramatic fashion, the team championship of Adelaide. And because Cam Smith played great golf. He played great golf. He's been trending too. Ever since he was second in like the Aussie Open, he's been playing really well. Why? Because he's hitting putts. So Ripper wins it. AK's the hero. Everybody in the world's talking about it. And then you know what the greatest thing was? Sunday afternoon yesterday, we got to watch Colin Morikawa sink his own putt on 18 and bring his own emotion as his wife steps up and announce to the world that she's pregnant. And that's another human piece in what it's all about. Colin Morikawa was in tears. It's been a long time since he was in the winner's circle outside of AK. And Pebble Beach is one of the funnest theaters as well in golf, right? The ocean, the weather, the challenge of it. It's a true test for the PGA players. And you know what? It's not a tournament where Scotty Scheffler runs away with it. But boy, did he make a run on Sunday. Scotty Scheffler, you could always count on him to come up out of nowhere. It's kind of back in the Tiger Phil days. Like they could be like 11 back on Saturday. And all of a sudden on Sunday, you're like, oh my God, they're within reach. Rory played some pretty decent golf, but it wasn't that great. It was his first season back, first game back for the PGA. But it was awesome. I'm so happy for Morikawa. I'm so happy that the entire golf world and community came together to raise up Anthony Kim. And if that wasn't enough, let's look at mashed potatoes, right? Love it when somebody hits the ball and all you hear is mashed potatoes. Well, it really rang true in Saudi Arabia this week because Charlie Hall,
I ran into the toilet and got some mashed potatoes.
put it down. I think she won by 5 or 6 shots. She played so well and she won on the LPGA. So it was a fabulous weekend for golf. Everybody can be on the AK train. Don't be an asshole. Just jump on the train. It's good for life. You just think of the stories that, you know, someone in recovery can hear today that he did what? Yeah, it's possible. You can do it too. And Anthony Kim said it himself. He wants the biggest stage, the biggest platform to have the biggest influence on as many people as possible. Now, I think personally, he says some dumb shit on social media, politically wise. I don't care what side you're on, but the way he shares some things are just like, ugh. But I never hold a personal life against any athlete or entertainer in my world. So PGA next up, we got Riviera. We got the Genesis coming up next week. And then for Liv, they're off, like I said, until Hong Kong 3 weeks from now. And you know, I guess it's just like, let's just dive into the world of Anthony Kim. He's got a YouTube channel. Let's bring him back to the top of the sport because whether it's PGA or Liv, we need a hero with a cape. And I think it can be Anthony Kim. Maybe not going to bring the world of golf together because it's cool to be negative, right? Negative algorithms drive content. We live in a world of engaging in content, everyone all day long. So if it was all cakes and pies and candy, social media would be out of business. So let's all come together, give it up for AK, one of the most exciting comebacks in all sports. See you next time on The Grip.